Okay, welcome back to another episode of Becoming an Online Sales Queen. You are so used to seeing me doing solo episodes, but in 2026, the plan was always to invite more guests. And so, our first guest of the year, I am absolutely delighted to welcome, is Janine. Janine, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself because you'll do so much of a better job than me. But just to give everyone a little sneak peek around what we're going to talk about, we're talking about networking and how the way that we network, the way that we show up, the way that we build connections and relationships is fundamental to every bit of sales success that we have in business. So, Janine, welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm honoured to be your first guest of 2026 as well. So fabulous. No pressure, no pressure at all. So yeah, I'm Janine Friston and I run the Female Business Network. And I host online and in-person networking meetings, online summits, workshops, and just events that bring people together, bring communities together, and help women to build their network, build their audience, and grow a business that feels really good to them, which I know that you do with, the work that you do as well. It's really important that we do something and we have people around us that help us and support us and lift us up. And that's what I strive to do within the Female Business Network.
I love it. I love it. And obviously, I've been to a female business network event of yours, and you had so many amazing women in the room who I could see were already well connected because I guess they, meet regularly. So yeah, I'm really, really glad to have you here. So I'm going to kick off with a phrase that that I was taught when I first started in business, which I always found a little bit cheesy. I'd love to get your view on it. And it was
Okay.
network to get work. What do you think of that? It was a middle-aged man in a suit that said it to me, and it felt really cheesy. What do you think?
Um, Yes, cheesy and probably slightly old-fashioned, I would also hazard a guess. However, if you are networking, you are in business most of the time. And so, yes, you do want to ultimately get work, get clients, make money out of the people that you meet. That's not, but that shouldn't be the end result. I have people that come to me that are in my networks that I've worked with who they just want to build their confidence in business generally and talking about their business. If you're looking to grow, if you're looking to sell your products, your services, if you're looking to meet new people, you need to be comfortable and confident in talking about that. And so you might not go to a group with sales in mind. It might be a group that you think actually that they're going to lift me up, they're going to build my confidence, they're going to get me out of the house and meet some other amazing people. So it's not always about sales, but yes, I know that quite a lot of people do still see networking as you network to get work and make sales. And if they don't, they sort of like run away and think, well, that was a rubbish event or rubbish a group. I'm not going to go back there, which is such a shame. But you know,
Yeah.
that's how people think sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember distinctly a conversation where that phrase like came up, and it would tended to be like a bit of a business card swap shop, like who are you? Have my card, and who are you? Have my card, and you're right. It's that I went to that event and I didn't get any clients, therefore I won't go there again. But it doesn't take just one meeting, does it? It takes multiple times of meeting the same person and getting to know them and understanding what they do so that you can refer them and they can refer you. It's not always that the person you chat to and thrust your business card on is the one that hires you. It can come the ripple effect can happen,
No.
can't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I've got loads of handbags, which I've got business cards in from meetings that I went to God knows how many years ago. I think, oh, I have no idea who that person is or why I've got their business card in the first place. They just get left in my bag to then be thrown in the bin.
Yeah.
I'm all about introvert friendly networking, small group networking, where you can have some genuine conversations and with people that actually you want to have those conversations with, because I've been to those networking meetings like you probably you were hinting at before, Rachel, where you get someone comes round and gives you their business card, tells you exactly what they can do, and then they go off to the next person and do exactly the same thing and exactly the same thing, and I'm like, You don't even know what I do. You don't know if what you do resonates with me and what I need right now. You have no idea about what my experience is to know if you're the right person. So I'm definitely not going to get in touch with you again.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've got a few old handbags as well that have got some like tatty business cards of people that
Yeah.
I don't even remember the conversation. So let me ask you then, like, why women? Like, why the specific focus on women? Do you feel that women network better together?
Yes. And sorry, my dog is just going to start barking as
Right.
always.
We do,
When you
we
start
do
the
pets.
recording.
We do pets and kids on the podcast. It's fine.
Um, but yeah, so I always find that, from a networking perspective, as women, quite often we're lacking in confidence, or we've perhaps come out of corporate, had children, and then you start a business and you're like, I'm not quite sure what to do. And mixed groups have a different vibe, generally speaking. And I wanted to meet people that were similar to me, that understood that I had younger children when I first started. They're older now. But when I first started out in business, they knew that maybe holiday season were coming up, schools were breaking up, and that they understood the nuances of running a business in and around
Mhm.
having children, having other responsibilities, and things, let alone you as the person behind it. So that's where sort of that came from. And I just wanted to meet some like-minded people that you know, wanted to meet other people who were genuinely nice people.
Yeah.
And that's why I started. And then the introvert thing came around because I am an introvert. I am quite quiet. People always say to me, well, you do podcasts, you do the awards, you do the festivals, Janine, you host events. It's like, but you don't see me for weeks afterwards. And
Yeah.
we're recording this podcast for a couple of days afterwards. I'll probably be like, oh, let's just sit in a quiet room somewhere. Um, but I you tend to attract like-minded people. And when I was looking to grow the female business network, I was like, okay, I want to work with women, but what sort of women do I want to work with? You can't work with everybody. At first I did. I thought, well, women in business is a niche. But then I was like going down and down and down. And I was looking at people that were already in my world, and most of them were the same as me. Introverts, quieter, didn't want to be doing everything. I thought, well, that's just, there's not a lot of things going on for introverts and quieter people. It's very extroverted in the world. And you speak about that sometimes as well. As like, sales, business, social media, the world is very extroverted, and yet a high percentage of people are quieter. And it's like, how can I help to bring them around to communities, to groups, and use the women in business angle in that niche.
Mm. I think I would go as far as to say that most people are not extrovert. I think, like in the my corporate time where I used to do a lot of like profiling and all the psychometric surveys to tell you whether you were introvert or whether you were extrovert, whether you were red or yellow or blue or green. I always came out as like the high extrovert. And yes, I'm loud and bubbly and all those things. And people often mistake that as being a skill that you need in sales. And actually, in all of my years in sales, the best salespeople that I've ever worked with have been introvert because introverted people ask good questions. When they speak, it's something usually very insightful, whereas an extrovert just likes the sound of their voice. Yeah, like, and I can say that because I am an extrovert. So all you extroverts out there, don't be getting all chopsy with me because I know I'm an extrovert on paper in all the surveys. That is what I am. Although I have to say, as I'm getting older and I'm starting to maybe be more self-aware and more reflective, I'm finding that I'm more like flexivert. I think I'm more like a mix of the two because I definitely love my own company. I definitely love peace and quiet. So it isn't that I just want to be in all the loud places and I want to chat and because when I'm in a conversation where I'm teaching, I'm leading, I'm coaching, like those skills are all about listening. They're not about speaking. They're about asking great questions, listening to the answer, and then probing deeper. And that
Mhm.
is definitely a skill that you need in networking because you know the people, you've probably been in many of these conversations where they ask you something, you answer, and then their question back to you or their comment back to you has got nothing to do with what you said. So you know that they weren't listening. It's a complete giveaway, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think, lots of people that I work with or are in my community, they think, well, like you say, I'm too quiet to go networking, or, the group is too big, I'm gonna get lost, I'm gonna get, not listened to. And that can happen. And that's why I like my small groups, because then everyone is included and everyone feels comfortable in being included and speaking up. Because as an introvert, if you're in a big group, I've been in a big group situation and in a big mastermind, and I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to raise my hand. I didn't want to offer value, offer support, offer my ideas, ask a question, all those sorts of things that aren't a lack of confidence in myself, because I'm quietly confident in what I do and how I can help people. But just the introvert is like, well, I just sit back and just let everyone else do it around me. Whereas in a small group, you can have that. But yeah, I think definitely introverted people, quieter people make excellent networking people as well as salespeople, like I say, because we listen, we observe, we watch, we take on board, we're thoughtful, we think about what everyone's saying, and how we can best help someone else, in their journey, in the issue that they're talking about. So actually, from a sales perspective and a networking perspective, which is why I'm glad we're doing this podcast, is that introverted people should be out there, having those conversations, being comfortable having those conversations, and doing so in ways that work for them. Like sales, you can network in so many different ways. It doesn't mean going to a great big event and work in the room and talking to everybody. It can be in so many different ways. It doesn't, it's about aligning that way to what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if anyone's listening to this now, and obviously, like what you just said, it's like introverted people, they should be out there. They've got all the skills to be good at doing this. If they wanted to take a step towards a networking group, obviously we'd want them to come and try yours because it's going to be very welcoming and very like lovely. But then, wherever they are in the UK, like what would you suggest that they did if they were going to go out and try networking?
I think if you are new to networking completely, start small. Start with a small informal group. Get comfortable talking about you and your business, and get comfortable asking questions to other people and building those relationships. Also, use social media. It's a great asset and a great tool. It's not just about talking and displaying what you can do to help people, but use the DMs to actually have conversations. I spend a lot of my time having conversations in the messages, sharing advice, offering help, getting to know people, and then bringing them through into a one-to-one as a connection call and not a sales call. It's about bringing them through that journey like a sales process would be. You
Yeah.
can bring them on that networking journey on social media, in person as well. And so just take those first steps, whether or not it's in person, online can work really well for online networking, or in the one-to-ones.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because, like, what you've just said there is so, so critical that people really understand this. So I'm going to say it again, right? You just talked about social media. And one of the things I am forever banging on about is that people focus on the media part of social media, as in it's a broadcast, it's marketing, it's lead gen. But actually, it isn't. It's a social platform. It's about being social, which means that social media is about networking. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, It's like it's not
Yeah,
different. Like networking in a room where, there's teas, there's coffees, there's biscuits, there's a speaker, it's a traditional networking room, however big or small it is. That's, I think, what people picture. But networking is in the DMs on social media. It's chatting face to camera and inviting people to speak to you. That is networking. Do you agree? It's the same thing.
100%, 100%. And this is why I think people get het up thinking, well, I've not got time to go to all these events and meet all these people and have all these conversations, or I don't want to go to that big event because there's going to be loads of people there. I'm going to feel really nervous about walking into the room and doing my introduction. And what if I fluff my words? What if I go red? What if I forget what I want to say? How do I have those awkward conversations with people and stuff like that? But actually, in its like you say, in its essence, it's about conversations and whether or not you have those conversations in person, whether or not you have them in an online community networking group, whether or not you have them in the messages, in the DMs, whether or not you have them on a Zoom call, whatever it is, it's about conversations and about building that genuine relationship with somebody and you resonate and support each other. And it doesn't need to be with loads of people. It can just be with a few people at a time and build relationships slowly. Don't think if you go to an event, you've got to go and get 25 business cards or 25 new connections. Two will be great.
Yeah,
Have two great conversations rather than 25 rubbish ones.
yeah.
And build your network slowly from there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. One of the first things that I did when I first started my business, I went out networking in the traditional style rooms, and they were a lot of them were mixed rooms. There was a lot of business card spraying and praying, as I used to call it.
Yeah.
Um, I very quickly realized that, I wanted to speak to all these people, but they were always looking for speakers. And so I just got to know the organizers and said, do you ever, are you ever looking for more speakers? And they were like, yeah. So I got onto the little speaker network, and that meant that I could cover more ground more quickly. But I think where people get that confused is I wasn't on the stage with the microphone pitching my offer. I was giving value just like we do on social media, talking about, things that will help the audience and then inviting the conversation. But the conversation is still the main goal. Yes, I was
Mhm.
speaking, but I wasn't pitching. I was inviting that connection because it always comes back to that. Like you were just saying, it's more conversations equal more sales. I think it's that simple. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is why I spend, time every day having conversations with people, welcoming new people into my world, thanking people that are already in my world, building that relationship every single day with a few people. And like you say, just inviting people to let me know what they're up to. Let me know if what I'm talking about resonates with them. Let me know how I can best help them. That might be through a referral, a connection, a resource that I've got, or just sharing something with me and let me give some advice back, whatever it might be. It's about that conversation so that I can best help them in whatever way, I can for them. And that's like you say, in the in-person or the online networking, traditional type of networking. That's
Yeah.
what you were doing with your speakers, is like, just sharing information, asking them what their thoughts are, asking them how you can help them. And then, and that is a two-way street. And it's not just one person talking at someone and someone, taking all that information off you.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I used to find a lot of events on eventbrite.com. Do you put your events on there?
No, haven't done for a while. Um, Mainly because mine are now community-based events rather than sort of like out there to everybody. But yeah, when I've hosted big events before, I did use Eventbrite for it. I didn't always get loads of stuff from it though, to be fair. I think it just, don't know why. But there's just so many different ways you can advertise your events these days and find different networking meetings. So you can go on Eventbrite, like you say, ask people that you know. We've all got people that we know in the business world. Say, ask them, say, I want to try a different networking group, or I want to try a different networking event, or can you, who do you go to that you think would be a great fit for me? Because people that know what you're like as a person.
Yeah,
And so
that's
if you're asking them for something, they're not going to recommend something that they think is going to be a wrong fit for you. So, if you are interested in going, check on Eventbrite. There are networking apps and networking directory websites these days. You can go on and find networking groups local to you. Ask your community, ask in your local Facebook groups. I'm looking at, meeting some more business people, what networking events are coming up in the next couple of months. Feel free to message me. I'm happy. I'm always giving out different networking. Just because I've got my own networking group, I might not have one near to somebody, or it might not be the right fit for them. I'm always happy to share someone that I know that I think would be a good fit for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, there are lots of different ways of doing it, aren't there? Like eventbrite.com may be a little bit hit and miss because you don't really know what the group's all about. And for anyone that is nervous about turning up, you definitely don't want to turn up to a room that you know nothing about with nobody that you know. That's a bit daunting. But like everybody has got, and if you haven't got, you should have like at least one or two business besties that you could be like, should we go together? There's strength in numbers. You can like, walk in the room together and, just gravitate to the coffee. I always used to just gravitate to the coffee because that's where everybody just mills around, isn't it? To like get conversation. The other tip that I used to always give people was to turn up early. And so many people think that when they go into a networking event, they should turn up late because if they turn up late, they're not going to be the only one. The room's going to be busy. They won't stand out like a sore thumb. They can just, sort of blend in, sidle in the room and come in unnoticed. Whereas my tip of turning up early is get to know the organizer, be the first one to the coffee, and then be the one that's there when person number two, person number three, person number four walks in. Because by the time person number 55 walks in, you're already very, very comfortable. And it's so much easier to walk into an empty room than it is to walk into a room of 50, 60, 80 people, because that can feel really daunting. You must see people's body language when they walk in, going like, oh, like this
Yeah,
is,
exactly. And when you join a group that's already started, the conversations are already happening. If they're stood up, everyone's got their backs to you because we're in their sort of little circles of twos and threes and fours, and you're like, oh, how do I butt into that group? And like you say, but if you're there first, you can speak to your, I always say, if you're going to a new group and you're not sure, message the organizer and say, like, I'm a bit nervous. What's the structure? What's the format? All these sorts of things to allay your fears to begin with. And then, like you say, aim to get there 10 minutes early, get your seat, get yourself sorted. But I would be careful, don't just sit there on your phone, because if you are sat there on your phone scrolling, thinking, actually, I'll just sit here for a minute and just, get my act together or whatever, it just looks like you're not interested. You don't want to engage in the conversation. If you do take your business besties with you, which is a great idea, but just be careful that you don't just spend the whole meeting just chatting to them and it becomes a social event, which is amazing. But you've gone to meet other people or to learn or to build your audience or whatever it might be. So I always sort of say, if you are nervous or you're going to a new event, just sort of challenge yourself. Say, okay, I might be going with my besties, but I'm just going to go and just talk to one new person I've never met before.
yeah,
I'm going to go and talk to just a couple of people that I don't know and start to have those conversations. Don't think I need, like you say, you need to go and talk to everybody. If you are nervous or it's a new group and you're not quite sure, I always just sort of say, Janine, just go and talk to one person. It's one person that didn't know who you were before you arrived today. And this is what I always say about networking. It's like there might only be 4 or 5 people in the group. Some of my groups are only 4 or 5 people strong. But actually, we have amazing conversations. And all those 4 or 5 people have got lots of people that they know. So networking is about more about who isn't in the room than
yeah,
who is. Because by offering value, offering insight, offering advice, you're setting a great first impression to that new connection. And
mm,
they're going to go, I met this amazing person at so and so's event the other day. They do just what you're looking for. And they're going to remember so much more about you than if you just said, well, here's my business card. I can do whatever training or whatever it is you're going to do. Message me. They're going to go, I don't know what you like.
mm,
But by having that conversation, it just reminds them and you become more memorable to them.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I don't do it for this, but one thing that I've seen happen like over and over again many times is I've been chatting to somebody on Instagram where it's turned into, oh, I'm sure there's things that we could collaborate on. I'm sure there's things that we could do together. Whether that's like me go and be a guest expert for them, and then they come and be a guest expert for me, or they come on the podcast, or I go on their podcast, or I go and like speak to their Facebook group. There's many different ways that you can like collaborate. But what tends to happen when you then get close enough to somebody in that way, they start to really see you in your expertise, and you them. And then when you need that expertise in your business, or you know somebody that needs that expertise, it's so much easier to refer those people. I think very often, like when social media feels like a broadcast platform and it doesn't feel like networking and conversation, it feels hard to get sort of through that into the let's network, let's collaborate, let's have a coffee call, let's just get to know each other. That feels hard, but I can guarantee to everybody listening that's thinking, oh, I should really do this, but I'm a bit scared, that you just got to put yourself out there, because when you do, you're never let down. I don't think anybody would ever be let down by putting themselves out there and getting in the room so that you can be part of these conversations. Because nothing bad ever came from like, meeting new people and just being in the right spaces. Like, I just think it's such a great way to expand your business and your network.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like you might go to a room and the people there might not be your ideal client. They might not be people that are going to buy from you, but actually you are learning from them. You are gaining confidence. You are gaining confidence about talking about your business. You might be learning something that's going to help you, a skill that you can then adapt into your business. And then that's going to get you those clients next time. Or like you say, the collaborations, the referrals. I was chatting to someone in one of my communities the other day, and I was saying, what percentage of clients do you think have come through networking and stuff? And she's like, 95%.
Yeah.
Social media is great for the ongoing relationship building, people finding me first off, and all that sort of stuff, and raising my awareness and credibility. But she said, my number one reason 95% of her clients have come through her networking or referrals through people that she has networked with. So if you aren't networking and you aren't networking consistently in
Mm.
the right spaces, like you say, for you with the right people, then you're going to miss out on so many more clients. Social media is great for that broadcast message, that credibility, that authority building, raising awareness, starting those conversations off. But then, like you do, it's about moving them through that journey into the messages, into finding out more about you, into having more conversations with people, whether or not that's in the messages, online, whatever it might be. And so, yeah, 95% of the clients come through networking.
Through that, yeah. It's funny, on my retreat a few weeks back, we were chatting about what to do when somebody new follows you, and how to get to know them without being like sleazy, like, because nobody wants to be that sleazy person that's like, hey, do you want to buy my thing? Nobody wants to do that, but everybody wants to have more relationships. So we were talking about it, and I said, well, listen to a voice note that I would send somebody. So I played it to the girls around the table. And one of the ladies, she was like, right, I'm going to go record one, like right now, I'm going to do it. And literally about 4 or 5 days since after we got back, she had signed 3 clients as a result of those messages,
Yeah.
which is
No, I've
insane when you think about the fact that she normally wouldn't send them at all.
No, exactly. This is, I do it on a regular basis, once or twice a week. I'll go through my new followers on Instagram and I'll send them a personalized note. Takes 20, 30 seconds, doesn't take long for me to say, thanks for joining, thanks for following me. Love what, refer to a particular post or something that's about them so they know it's personal to them. They might get your automated messages, but just that personalized message makes a difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody else in my group did it, I think last year at some point. I was saying to people about this way of what I do, about welcoming new people into my world and stuff like that. And they're like, we did it for a week and we got 3 new clients, 3 new sales that we never would have had if we not sent that message.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just such a simple thing you can do while you're sitting down, having a cup of tea in the afternoons when you're a bit quiet or a bit knackered about something. I do it in the afternoons. I'll sit on the sofa, grab a cup of coffee, and I go through my Instagram and sort of say, okay, so who's new following me? Who's engaging on my content? Who have I not spoken to for ages? Let's just pick 4 or 5 people and send them a personalized message. Thank you for following me. Thank you for engaging my content. I hope it resonated with you. This is what I tend to talk about. How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Let me know. Ask the question. How do you feel about networking? How do you feel about conversations and whatever it might be? And it makes such a big difference. I've had so many great conversations that have led on to people coming into my world, people referring to me, building awareness of the Female Business Network and Janine Friston as a result of that, and then getting those recommendations on the back of that is huge.
It is. It is huge. It is huge. And I think what a lot of people don't realize as well is that when you are DMing your audience, the algorithm knows what's going on the back end. So obviously DMs are private, but when you post content, Instagram's algorithm knows that, oh, that's somebody that she's been chatting to. We better show that person your content. So it's only going to help your post reach and your post engagement the more people you actually chat to on the back end. So yeah, I love that
Yes.
your ladies have seen sales come from that. My ladies have seen sales come from that. It is definitely a thing. It's not fluke. It's something that we should all be doing.
100%. And it doesn't need to be salesy. That's the thing. It's not a sales conversation. It's just like, hey, it's lovely to have you here. Thanks very much. This is what I tend to talk about. What are you struggling with right now? How might I be able to help? Everyone wants the right people will then come back to you and go, lovely to chat to you, Janine. Thanks so much for your message. I absolutely loved it. This is what I feel about networking. And we start a conversation that way. It's just amazing. And like I say, I know that you talk about it from a sales perspective as well, but it doesn't need to be salesy.
No, it really doesn't. And most people, like, I know when I've chatted to some clients about this, they're like, "Yeah, but like, what do you say? And what do they think? Won't don't they think it's weird?" I'm like, "No." Most people come back and say, "Thank you for taking the time to message me." They feel flattered, they feel seen, they feel special, rather than just, "Oh, I hit the follow button," and then it's somebody I'm like never gonna ever get to know. Like, why would we want to do that?
No, exactly. And I follow up with people that maybe, I haven't spoken to for 6 or 7 months. People that were at the festival maybe a year ago that I haven't, we've engaged on each other's content a little bit, but we haven't spoken for ages. It's just nice just to reignite that conversation, that relationship in that way. And like you say, they feel seen, they feel important to you. And they feel like you actually want to take the time to get to know them, which I do. The people that I follow up with like that are people that I genuinely want to have that relationship with, and how can I support them, and how could they support me through whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really important that the more conversations you have, and whichever way works for you, the more sales, more conversions, more relationships are going to be had, um, generally speaking.
Yeah, 100%. So I hope that we have done enough in this episode to get people feeling motivated, and inspired to get out there and do more networking, whether it is networking on your social media or networking in a room, networking online in an online room, like either way, I think we've, made the point loud and clear that a goal for 2026 it must be to have more conversations. And I know that you can help people with that. Haven't you got a free guide that we're going to
I
gift?
do, yes.
Amazing. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so I've got a free guide which will be in the show notes, and it's basically a guide around how you can have better strategic conversations, how you can start those awkward conversations when you first meet people, but also what are the steps that you need to take from starting networking right the way through to attending an event and afterwards. That's going to help to have better conversations, better relationships, better connections. That's going to then help you build your business. So the free guide will be in the show notes that everyone can download.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. This is my final question for you. Do you have a number? Do you put a number of conversations on it? If one of your clients, one of your like members said to you, well, how many conversations is the right amount? Do you put a number on it?
No is the answer to that. I would say less is more. particularly when you were in a group situation personally, because it's like if you're going out and having 10 or 20 conversations, like having the business cards in your handbag, you're going to go, oh, I've forgotten who that person was. But actually, if you have like 4 or 5 conversations at an event, that's 4 or 5 people you can easily follow up with afterwards. And that's a really key part of networking. Like with follow up with sales, if you're meeting new people, make sure you follow up with them and say it was lovely to chat to them. You loved the conversation. Would they like to continue that in a one-to-one situation? I try and have at least 5 to 10 conversations a day with different people in the messages, on Zoom, on WhatsApp, whichever way I am connected with that person.
Yeah.
I try and aim for sort of like 5 to 10 conversations a day to continue that relationship building.
Love it. Love it. The reason I ask that is because I talk about a number with my clients, and I've heard other people say to me that they've been in programs where they've been told to have 50 conversations a day, and I just think that is insane.
I
And
tried that once.
did
I tried
you?
that once. Yeah. I said to my community, I was like, right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to have like 50 or 60 conversations because everyone said, have 100 and see what comes out. If you have 100 conversations and your conversion rate's 2%, you're going to get 2 sales out of 100. I'm going to go for it. I think I got to about 30 and I was like, oh my God, what out, my voice was going, my interest was going, my energy was going. And I was like, and then they're just not genuine then.
Yeah.
When if I try and have this big number of conversations, they're going to be with people that I might not necessarily want to have a conversation with just to hit that number. I'd much rather have fewer conversations with people that are relevant to me and I'm relevant to them
Yeah.
that are more likely to result in that relationship and connection.
I completely agree. If it feels like box ticking, it's not going to have the right energy. And if it feels like you're just trying to hit a number, well, then it is going to feel like box ticking, and they're not going to feel from you that you genuinely want to talk to them. And it also puts you in a mindset of hunting, like, and that is anybody that says to me, "Oh, I don't want to be salesy," it's because they don't want to feel like a hunter. They don't want to feel like they're sharking, for clients. We just want it to be natural, organic. And the way that buyer behavior is, which is changing all the bloody time, by the way, the way that buyer behavior is that we love to buy, but we don't want to be sold to. And so if we feel that hunting energy coming across, we're more likely to retreat and repel. And so, yeah, I asked you the number because I'm just curious, like what your number is.
Yeah.
I say 10. So I say not necessarily 10 calls or 10 DMs, 10 progresses. So, like, progress a conversation. If you can do 10 progresses, little follow ups, little touch bases, just little things every single day, then you're going to always have a network that wants to hear from you, that, knows what you're up to, that values your input and cares what you think. And so, yeah, 10 is a number that I talk about, but 50 is definitely not not what we're saying.
No, 100%. It's like, yeah, you can always tell when people have got, when they're promoting something, it's like a copy and paste jobby. I don't want to do that copy and paste jobby. I want to be genuine in the way that I do things. I mean, yes, we always do outreach with maybe some copy and pasting involved, but when I'm in my networking mode,
Yeah,
I want to go out there and have conversations with people that I think are going to be a good fit for me and me for them. It's no point me going out there and having a conversation with people that, oh, I don't think I can manage even a 5 minute conversation with that in real life with that person because it's just not going to work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I don't know how long we've been chatting, but it's definitely more
Too
than
long.
5 minutes.
I expect, because you said you wanted it to be like 15, 20 minutes, Janine. And this is it. It's like, I'm an introvert. You get me talking about networking and conversations and stuff like that, and I just go on forever.
Well, no, but that's the difference, isn't it? Like when you're talking about something you enjoy, and and I'm really, really, really like passionate about helping people to do more of this because, success in business is not just about some flashy funnel or like funky sales page. Like it comes back to the basics of human connection. And so, yeah, I think this is a really great episode for us to kick off the year with. And I just hope that everybody listening, whether you're, watching on YouTube. And if you are, give the video a like and a subscribe, please. Go and follow Janine. Her details will be in the show notes. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please do share it with your network, people that you know that also want to, do better at networking, getting better at, building connection, building relationship, and ultimately, making more sales, but doing it in a very organic, non-salesy way. So yeah, I'm really glad that we kicked off the year with this episode. And I hope that everybody takes away a couple of golden nuggets, which, there's been plenty of those, but I hope everybody takes away that goal of just doing a little bit each day. It doesn't have to be that, oh my God, 50 a day. It doesn't have to be that. Just start. Just start.
Mhm.
Baby steps, and it will all flow from there. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I've loved it. I say it's my favorite topic to talk about. So if someone says, "Do you want to come and talk about networking?" I'm always going to go, "Yes, please." That's amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. And like you say, it's a great way to kickstart the year because as people are starting to create their plans, their goals, their actions, networking, connection, conversation has to be one of the top things that you focus in on before anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody says to me in a podcast interview or, anywhere that I am, what is the number one needle moving activity for people to make more money, make more sales? It's conversation. That is exactly how I answer it. And that's how I've answered it for years. It's never changed. It literally is that. You can have all the flashy strategies in the world, but really, all the top of funnel stuff, all the middle of funnel stuff, it really all points back to the conversation, the relationship, because that's how sales are made. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, let's call it a day. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.